Yes, I didn't see him. What are you looking so sad about, Jeff?
I'm surprised. I'm really insulted. That's not right, what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talking. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talking about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, one time during my career, I was on a Bomber One tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
What's happening, my people? It's Cast Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Salute to Miss Cass, because without her, none of this would be possible. Salute to everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, the Boxtorian. Today, Black boxing history. Black boxing history. As a family today, it's Wednesday. This is the Hump Day edition of Cass Sports, the Boxtorian. This is Black History Month, and for the rest of the week, we're going to recognize it with Black boxing history. Today, look at various subjects of Black boxers and throughout boxing history. Tomorrow, we're going to look at the World Colored Heavyweight Championship. And then Friday, we're going to profile some of the Black pioneers of boxing, a group of them. Okay? But today, Black boxing history. We're going to look at a timeline through Black boxing history. Some big things that happened through the years. We're going to look at the murderous road fighters. All 8 of those fighters that were ducked. We're going to look at Archie Moore because I don't know why there wasn't 9 murderous road fighters, because he was ducked also. He went 16 years before he could get a title shot. Ranked number 1 at middleweight and light heavyweight through those years, and couldn't get a title shot. So it really should have been 9 murderous road fighters. So we're going to take a little look at Archie Moore today, too. And then we're going to look at 5 of boxing's legendary black boxers, okay? Those 5 right there: Jack Johnson, from left to right, Jack Johnson, Joe Louis, Sugar Ray Robinson, Smoking Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali. We're going to take a brief look at them today. And we're going to look at another black pioneer boxer. And who was the first black boxer to become a world boxing champion? And when did this occur? All that today on Cast Sports, the Box Story, bringing you all that boxing history. Middle of the week, hump day edition. We got Effie Ajagba and Charles Martin this weekend. But we got another big one next weekend. Mario Barrios, Ryan Garcia. 3 title fights on the card: Gary Antoine Russell and Harry Aka. We got Richardson Hitchens defending his title against Oscar Duarte. And then we got Frank Martin back in action against Nahir Albright. All potentially good matchups. That's next weekend. Next week will be fight week for that one. But black boxing history today. Rest of the week, we're going to be dealing with black boxing history. The World Colored Heavyweight Championship tomorrow. Back in the early 1900s, the black fighters were shut out from the regular heavyweight title, so they formed the colored. And it wasn't only just the colored heavyweight title, it was colored titles in other divisions too, middleweight, welterweight. But we're going to focus on the colored heavyweight title tomorrow, because that was the most well-known of them. And then Friday, we're going to look at some black boxing pioneers. Finish out the week. Okay, but today we're going to start, of course, with our fight of the day. So let's get ready to get into that. But how's everybody this Wednesday, hump day afternoon, middle of the week? On the way downhill after this to the weekend. But let's get into our fight of the day. Now, life is good. Snow is melting, finally. Heat wave that came through. 30-something degrees. Heat wave. Down in the single digits last week, below 0 with the wind chill. So, yeah. Let's get into our fight of the day. Get this thing started. Okay, for today's fight of the day, we're going to take a brief look at the Ezzard Charles versus Archie Moore trilogy. May 20th, 1946, May 5th, 1947, January 13th, 1948. The 2 best light heavyweights of all time, Ezzard Charles and Archie Moore. We're going to take a look at their trilogy. Brief look for the fight of the day today. BBO Sports TV is in the building. What's up, nephew? BBO Sports TV tonight at 8. Monday through Thursday, 8 p.m. And be getting BBO up to Monday through Saturday, 8 p.m. soon. But right now, Monday through Thursday, 8 p.m. So tonight, 8 p.m. BBO Sports TV and some of the other guys from the Sports Talk Network. Salute BBO. Okay, we're going to take a brief look at the Archie Moore Ezzard Charles trilogy for the fight of the day. The two best light heavyweights in boxing history. Okay. Ezzard Charles versus Archie Moore. A 3-fight series that gave us nothing but repeats. Although he is ranked by many as the greatest light heavyweight champion in boxing history, Archie Moore has to be placed behind one man when it comes down to the greatest all-time light heavyweight, period. For although he was never champion of the world at 175 pounds, Ezzard Charles, the Cincinnati Cobra, as he was known, has to hold that distinction as the top light heavyweight. The reason above all others is the fact that 3 times he beat the legendary Archie Moore in a series of fights in the 1940s. Not only that, but he actually knocked the old mongoose out in the final fight of their trilogy. If that doesn't make Ezzard the finest fighter ever at light heavyweight, then nothing else does. He was the 175-pound division's finest practitioner, and the knockout over Moore pretty much proves it. Okay? Never won the title, but he beat the greatest champion at light heavyweight 3 times. So that makes him the greatest light heavyweight. The Cincinnati Cobra, Ezzard Charles. Consider Archie Moore, who engaged in over 200 prize fights, was only ever beaten 20 times as a light heavyweight. Remember also that many of Archie's fights were fought at a relatively advanced age, over 40. He was only stopped at light heavyweight by 4 men. The fact that Ezzard Charles was able to master the boxer with the world record for second most knockouts ever, scored by a professional boxer, 132, Archie Moore, and Ezzard beat him with Simi East 3 times, cements Ezzard's greatness. There's no doubting it. No doubting it. Both Ezzard Charles and Archie Moore were consummate craftsmen of the ring. Their ultra-slick moves continue to inspire fighters today in the modern era, such as James Toney, for example. Watched as many tapes of these two masters as he could during his career. It is probably up at heavyweight in their tussles with the unbeatable Rocky Marciano, for which they are best known. Both Ezzard Charles and Archie Moore tested The Rock severely. Archie decked the heavyweight king early on in his fight with Rocky, before finally being stopped in the 9th round of a great battle, while Ezzard tangled with Rocky on 2 occasions, losing an extremely close decision the first time, and being stopped in the 8th round in fight 2, but not before almost tearing Marciano's nose clean off his face. Ezzard Charles did manage to go one better than Moore at heavyweight, however. In an earlier campaign at the weight, he captured the title with a win over another gifted and intelligent fighter in Jersey Joe Walcott, before losing the championship to the very same man later on. Ezzard then challenged Rocky in an attempt to regain the title, while Archie, after losing to Marciano, had one more crack at the biggest prize in sports, this time against the much younger Floyd Patterson, losing in 5 rounds. Once again, then, Ezzard Charles was somewhat superior to Archie Moore, this time in the ability at fighting successfully as a heavyweight. Yet it was when the 2 men faced one another that Ezzard clearly had the more constant and relevant upper hand. face to face. As it was 3-0 against Archie. Fight 1 was fought back in May of 1946 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and was a non-title fight, scheduled for 10 rounds. Ezzard inflicted the first of his 3 defeats on Moore with a commandingly wide unanimous decision. He also decked the ageless wonder with an extremely hurtful body shot in round 8. Archie barely beat the count, rising at 9. Ezzard had given Moore a clear licking in the first matchup between the two. The following year, again in May, they met again, May 1947. This time the fight was held in Ezzard's hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio. Not that he needed the advantage. Again, with no title on the line, and again fought over 10 rounds, Ezzard Charles captured a majority verdict this time. Also, as in the first meeting between the two light heavyweight greats, Ezzard put Moore down with a body shot, this time in the 7th round. It just didn't seem as though Archie, as good as he was, could gain the upper hand over the younger man. Still, this didn't stop him from trying. For although nowadays the overwhelming urge of many a boxer would doubtless be to avoid such a tough foe, this was not the way of things for fighters back in the 1940s, especially not colored fighters or black fighters. That's what they called us back then, colored. But especially not black fighters. Fight 3 came just short of a year later after Fight 2. This time they met in Ohio, in January of 1948, and again, the fight was scheduled for 10 rounds. What followed was probably the best fight of their 3-fight series. Both men started fast, and the pace remained unaltered throughout this fight. Archie saw the best chance of victory pass him by. He had Charles walking on Queer Street in round number 8, and was seemingly a punch or two away from at last defeating the man from Cincinnati, and by knockout to boot. Yet, somehow, Ezzard recovered his senses and came back with some devastating blows of his own to sensationally knock out the Mongoose in the very same round that had Ezzard in trouble. The finishing punch, a right cross, was absolutely perfect. Yep. Bruce Gass, Boxing Jazz, and more in the building. Salute Bruce Gass, who was just taking a brief look at Ezzard Charles and Archie Moore's trilogy. Yep, Ezzard won all 3 of them. So salute Bruce Gass, Boxing Jazz, and more. Another great channel in these YouTube streets. Yeah, Archie almost had Ezzard out of there in the 3rd fight, but Ezzard recovered and got Archie out of there in the same round. This win finally convinced Moore that, good as he was, he simply could not find a way to beat Charles. Both men went about their careers from then on without hooking up again, and both men's finest accomplishments were still ahead of them. Yeah, none of these 3 fights were for a title. That was before either one of them had ever won a title. Imagine that. 2 supremely talented light heavyweights squaring off with one another 3 times before even fighting for a world title. No way would such a practice be adhered to today. But back when these 2 legends were fighting, they didn't really have much of a choice. But boxing has changed a lot since then. Yeah. You had to take the fights when you could get them back then. Ezzard Charles and Archie Moore, the 2 greatest light heavyweights in boxing history. Yep, there's the fighters a day. Brief look at the Ezzard Charles and Archie Moore trilogy. Yep. Okay. So we're going to look at some black boxing history today. This from left to right: Jack Johnson, Joe Louis, Sugar Ray Robinson, Smoking Joe Frazier, and Muhammad Ali. A little tribute to Black History Month. We're going to look at the black boxing history and the sport we love. We're going to take a timeline through black boxing history to start off. A timeline through black boxing history to get things started. How's everybody this hump day afternoon? Going on downhill. After a job for Charles Martin this weekend in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. The big one is next week, though. Mario Barrios and Ryan Garcia. 3 title fights on that card, too. Gary Antoine Russell and Andy Hiriaka for Gary's title and Richardson Hitchens. Oscar Duarte for Richardson's title. Plus Frank Martin back in action. They're all right. Next weekend, though. Fight week is next week for that one. Looking forward to that. Big time. A timeline through black boxing history. Now, throughout boxing history, many black fighters have proudly stood as symbols of aspiration, success, power, and resolve. Some overcame the systemic odds to become champions, while many illustrious names were denied deserved opportunities. This Black History Month, we take a look back through time at important boxing pioneers and their cultural impact. December 1810. December 1810. Born into slavery at a tobacco plantation farm, Thomas Molyneux emerged with his freedom through boxing. His bare-knuckle fight with English champion Thomas Cribb is regarded as one of the most important in history. Mike Tyson stated, he's the first black champion who earned his freedom through fighting. Thomas Molyneux. Just a brief walk through history. Okay, June 27th, 1890. June 27th, 1890. Canadian George Dixon became the first black fighter ever to capture a world title by beating Newt Wallace in London. He was the first black athlete to win a championship in any sport. Bypassing American segregation laws, Little Chocolate was a 19th century catalyst for future generations of black boxers. (1901). Barbados Joe Walcott was the first black fighter to claim a world championship in the 20th century by knocking out Jim Ferns. Later, heavyweight champion Jersey Joe Walcott named himself after the man he regarded as the greatest ever. Yep, Jersey Joe named himself after Barbados Joe. Yep. May 12th, 1902. May 12th, 1902. The Old Master, Joe Gans, became the first ever native-born black American world title holder. Because remember, George Dixon was Canadian. And Gans accomplished this after stopping Frank Ern in one round. The Old Master was also the first American-born black man to hold a world championship in any sport. The Old Master, Joe Gans. 1904. The first world title fight between two black boxers, Barbados Joe Walcott lost his title to Dixie Kid by controversial disqualification, with the referee later believed to have bet on the Dixie Kid. He said the referee bet on the Dixie Kid and he disqualified Barbados Joe. The referee was protecting, making sure he won his bet. Wow. December 26, 1908. Can't blame him. He must have bet some big money on the Dixie Kid, so he disqualified Barbados Joe. But December 26, 1908. That's crazy. Okay. Jack Johnson made history by becoming boxing's first ever Black American world heavyweight champion, stopping Tommy Burns in Australia. The police halted the fight recording to make sure no footage existed of a white man being knocked out by a black man. July 4th, 1910. July 4th, 1910. Reigning heavyweight king Jack Johnson knocked out America's great white hope, James J. Jeffries, in the fight of the century. The Galveston Giant cemented himself as a towering cultural figure in American history, transcending the sport with his achievements. June 22nd, 1937. June 22nd, 1937. June 22nd, 1937. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's continue. Joe Louis became the first Black world heavyweight champion since Jack Johnson 22 years earlier, knocking James J. Braddock out cold in 8 rounds. The Brown Bombers' triumph was a groundbreaking moment in Black American history, with thousands staying up all night throughout the country in celebration. June 22nd, 1938. June 22nd, 1938. Joe Louis became widely regarded as the first Black American to achieve national hero status. His monumental first-round knockout win over Max Schmeling saw him stand as a symbol in the battle against Nazi Germany. August 17th, 1938. Harry Armstrong became the first fighter, Black or white, to hold world titles in 3 weight classes simultaneously. Homicide Hank. December the 20th, 1946. December 20th, 1946. Sugar Ray Robinson stood up to the mob that controlled the sport, refusing to be dictated by their terms, and eventually winning the welterweight crown with a win over Tommy Bell. He became bigger than boxing and sealed himself in history as the greatest of all time. September the 27th, 1950. Just a little walk through Black boxing history, a brief one. September 27th, 1950. For the first time in boxing history, The linear World Heavyweight Championship passed from one black fighter to another, not being fully appreciated as the division's ruler by beating Jersey Joe Walcott, as Charles overcame previously retired Joe Louis to gain official recognition as heavyweight king. (1952). Joe Louis became the first black American to play in a PGA-sanctioned tournament at the San Diego Open, paving the way for other black professionals to make their mark in golf. Sports writer Jimmy Cannon said of Louis that he's a credit to his race, the human race. Joe Louis, credit to the human race. June 10th, 1962. Then Cassius Clay stood as a figure of racist pride, racial pride, joining forces of human rights activist Malcolm X to rally for integration. The pair met for a Black Muslim rally in Detroit and began their iconic friendship. June 20th, 1967. Muhammad Ali was banned from boxing after his military draft refusal due to his opposition to the Vietnam War and affiliation with the Nation of Islam. The greatest was convicted of draft evasion and stripped of his heavyweight titles. March 8th, 1971. Everybody know what happened then. March 8th, 1971. No sporting event has ever had the kind of popular culture significance and iconic impact that the first fight between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier had. The fight of the century. Heavyweight kings were assigned opposing roles on the political and cultural spectrum. In the end, it was Joe Frazier's night. And I told you how iconic that was. March 8th, 1971, 30-year anniversary, March 8th, 2001, the two fighters' daughters fought to celebrate the 30-year anniversary. Don't get no more iconic than that. The two fighters' daughters fought, and Ali Frazier fought. That's iconic. Okay, October 30th, 1974. Okay, October 30th, 1974. Muhammad Ali stunned Big George Foreman with an 8th-round knockout triumph in the Rumble in the Jungle. A significant cultural event, the fight resonated beyond sport. Don King built a festival around the bout, featuring soul icon James Brown and blues legend B.B. King at a football stadium in Zaire. The night was later the subject of an Oscar-winning documentary entitled When We Were Kings. Yeah, Don King. Turkey Ali Sheik can take some notes on how to do an event around a fight from Don King. June 11th, 1982. Larry Holmes defended his world heavyweight title against the latest great white hope, Gentleman Jerry Cooney, in Las Vegas, Nevada. Racial overtones, led by Don King, surrounded the fight. Cooney deflected such talk, but members of his camp wore shirts stating, "Not the white man, but the right man." I still don't see what was wrong with that, you know. Holmes knocked Cooney out, but eventually they became close friends and remain so to this day. Yeah, not the white man, but the right man. I've never seen anything wrong with that. They made a big deal over that. That was like deflecting race out of it, I thought. But yeah. But yeah, Holmes and Cooney became best of friends. Cooney went into depression after the fight, and he said Holmes was the first one to call him to help him come out of it. May 24th, 2018. United States President Donald Trump signed a posthumous pardon for Jack Johnson, clearing his racially motivated criminal conviction from 1913, 105 years later, for transporting a white woman across state lines. Yeah, but he got a pardon 105 years later. And finally, December 18th, 2019. Katie Taylor unveiled a new headstone at the resting place of pioneering bare knuckle champion Tom Molyneux. For over 2 centuries, he lay in an unmarked grave in Galway, Ireland, where he had spent his final days of a remarkable life. Yeah, we're going to talk about him Friday. We're going to profile some pioneers Friday, Black pioneer fighters Friday. And Thomas Molyneux will be one of them. Okay, that was just like a little trip through boxing history. Now we're going to look at the Murderers Row fighters. Okay, this is like a Black History Month. The rest of the week going to be Black boxing history. Okay, so now we're going to look at the Murderers Row fighters. Boxing's Murderers Row. Not the 1920s New York Yankees, not that Murderers Row. That was a Murderers Row of baseball. Yeah. Okay, yeah, pitchers hated facing them boys. Babe Ruth. That team. Yeah. And we're going to look at boxing's version of the Murderers Row. Now, I thought it should have been 9. Archie Moore should have been part of that group. He fought right around that same time frame, and he was aborted. Remember, he didn't get his first title shot for 16 years. Bear with me for a minute, because I'm offline. I'm offline. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Okay. We'll probably get some late time today too. At the end. Okay, yeah, let's take a look at these Murderers Row fighters now. It's part of our Black boxing history show. Okay. I know. Black Murderers Row, the most feared fighters in boxing history. Crush, the legend in the building. What's up, Crush? How are you today? The morning man. Catch Crush in the mornings, Monday through Friday, around 6. Fire podcast. And a member of the STN network too, the Sports Talk Network. Yeah. Salute, Crush. Okay, let's continue with these murder. And Cameron Terrell in the building too. Salute, Cameron. How are you? Been a minute. Good to see you. Cameron. We're going to talk about the Murderers Row fighters. Group of fighters back in the 40s that were highly avoided. Highly avoided. The melanated fighters back in the 1940s. That even Sugar Ray Robinson ducked a couple of them. Okay? His manager admitted it. Now, boxing history is full of legendary champions who defined their eras. But some of the most talented fighters never fought for a world title. It wasn't because they lacked skill. It was because they were feared and avoided. From the 1930s to the 1950s, a group of Black American fighters dominated the ring with incredible talent and toughness. They became known as the Murderers Row, and their story is one of courage, skill, and perseverance. These men were so good that many champions refused to fight them. Racial barriers and boxing politics kept them out of the spotlight, but they didn't stop fighting. Instead, they clashed against each other in some of the toughest battles in boxing history. Today, we honor these fighters and the legacy they left behind. This is the story of the 8 men who made up boxing's most feared contenders. Who were the Murderers Row fighters? The group consisted of 8 extraordinary boxers, and it could have been 9. Archie Moore, because he fought right in that era and he was ducked too. Told you Archie waited 6. He started boxing at 23, didn't get his first title shot until almost 40, 39 years old. But when he won it, he kept it 10 years. Archie said if he loses it, he might not never get another shot. So yeah. But the Murderers Row fighters were Charlie Burley, Burt Lytell, Aaron Wade, Jack Chase, Eddie Booker, Lloyd Marshall, Coleman Williams, and the Coco Kid. These fights were avoided by many of the top names of their era, including champions and Hall of Famers ducked these guys. And if the champions fought them, they would stipulate that the title was not on the line in this fight. Okay? They did that a lot back then. You know, they say, I'll sign this contract, but down there in fine print, the title is not on the line. No matter what happens, I keep my title after I fight you. A lot of champions did that, especially to these guys. They were too talented, too risky, and too often ignored because of racial prejudice and boxing politics. Now, while some held colored titles or regional honors, none were given the chance to fight for a recognized world championship. And tomorrow we're going to cover a title that they called the colored heavyweight title tomorrow, okay? And Friday we're going to profile some pioneers, Black boxing pioneers. Okay, so let's go. Charlie Burley is first. Just a brief talk about each one of them, the Murderers Row fighters. Charlie Burley is first. The best fighter never to win a title. He was said to be the best of the 8. He was born September 6, 1917 in Bessemer, Pennsylvania. His career record was 83 wins, 12 losses, 2 draws, 50 knockouts. Never stopped in his career. Fought at welterweight, middleweight, and light heavyweight. Charlie Burley is widely considered the greatest fighter to never fight for a world title. A complete boxer with speed, power, and intelligence. Burley defeated future legends like Archie Moore and Fritzy Zibit. Even Sugar Ray Robinson, arguably the greatest boxer of all time, avoided Burley. Robinson's manager admitted they bypassed Burley during Ray's title reign. Burley's reputation was so intimidating that some managers reportedly told matchmakers, never mention his name to me again. They didn't even want the matchmakers to say Charles Burley's name to him. Some fighters' managers. Burley often fought heavier opponents just to stay active, including light heavyweights and even heavyweights, like Ezra Charles. Despite these challenges, his skill made him a Hall of Famer, inductee, and a legend among boxing historians. Charlie Burley never fought for a title or anything, but still in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Okay, next Murderers Row fighter is Burt Lytell. Burt Lytell. He was called the Enema, Burt Lytell. The Enema. Yeah. Great fighter too, Burt Lytell. There you go, Enema. Burt Lytell, that's what they called it. I spelled that wrong too. Oh, I didn't. That's right. Okay. Yeah, Burt Lytell. Now, he was born January 24th, 1924 in Victoria, Texas. He had a career record of 71 wins, 23 losses, 7 draws, and 24 knockouts. And he fought at middleweight and light heavyweight during his career. Burt Lytell, nicknamed Chocolate Kid, was a highly skilled and dangerous contender who often faced the best fighters of his era. He scored wins over Archie Moore, Homer Williams, and the Coco Kid, proving his ability against elite competition. Okay? Donnie. What's up, Donnie? Donnie Williams in the building. Salute. I thought I had lost Donnie one time. This guy came in here talking crazy, and I went to lock him and put him up, and I gave Donnie a 86K by accident. I said, oh man, Donnie ain't never coming back, but he's back. He know I was trying to get that other fool. Yeah, but salute, Donnie. How you doing today? All right. We talking about the Murderous Road Fighters right now. Okay. Let's continue then. We on Burt Lytell. Now, known for his southpaw style and relentless toughness, Lytell fought in an era when opportunities were scarce for black fighters. Many champions refused to face him because the risk was too high. Reports suggest even Sugar Ray Robinson avoided a potential matchup. Told you it was rumored Sugar Ray avoided a couple of these Murderous Road fighters, not just Charlie Burley, a couple of them. There was rumors he avoided Burt Lytell too. Okay? Despite his talent, Lytell never received a world title shot in his career. Instead, he built his reputation in grueling battles against other members of boxing's Murderous Road. Other members of this group, right? They fought each other. Ooh, I don't know how many times. His career remains shrouded in mystery, but his legacy as one of the most feared fighters in boxing history is undeniable. Burt Lytell. Enema. Okay? Aaron Wade. Another Murderous Road fighter. Aaron Wade. There's Aaron. Technique. What's up, Technique? How are you today? With the Murderous Road Fighters Technique. Okay. Yeah, Aaron Wade is next. Yeah. A group of highly avoided fighters back in the late 30s, 40s, into like the early 50s. Yeah. Most of them were gone by the 60s. Retired, you know. But Aaron Wade, now he was born March 17th, 1916 in Trenton, Tennessee. He had a career record of 64 wins, 16 losses, with 6 draws and 32 knockouts. And he fought at welterweight, middleweight, and light heavyweight. Okay? Now, Aaron Wade was a rugged, aggressive fighter with victories over several Murderous Road rivals and even Archie Moore. He was known as Tiger, and he packed surprising power for his 5'5" frame and was respected for his fearless approach. Yeah, he was a little short, bulky guy, like a little tank, you know? Yeah, 5'5". They had a wide frame, like a little bulldog. He also sparred with Sugar Ray Robinson, injuring Sugar Ray so badly in training that Robinson had to cancel a scheduled fight. Wade eventually faced Robinson in a non-title fight, but reportedly accepted a payoff to take a dive, highlighting the corruption in boxing at that time. He is credited as one of the early Black American Golden Gloves champions in Illinois, and is said to have fought hundreds of fights as an amateur. Some accounts claim as many as 600, though the exact number remains debated. Later, he battled personal struggles and alcoholism, but turned his life around. After retirement, Wade devoted himself to helping others as a Christian minister in San Francisco, California. His story reflects the resilience of Black Murderous Road fighters who fought against both prejudice and poverty to leave their mark in boxing history. Okay, Jack Chase. Jack Chase is this, Jack. Jack Chase is next. Jack, the troubled contender. He was born January 27th, 1914 in Sherman, Texas. Career record, 81 wins, 24 losses, 12 draws, 35 knockouts. Welterweight, middleweight, and a light heavyweight. Nicknamed Young Joe Louis. Early in his career, Jack Chase fought more than 100 fights, often against fellow Murderers Row fighters. Despite his talent and knockout power, legal troubles and prison sentences overshadowed his boxing career. In one infamous incident, Chase shot rival Aaron Wade during a bar fight, then faced him in the ring the following year, winning by knockout. Chase's story reflects the chaos and courage of fighters battling both in and out of the ring. Yeah, he shot another one of the Murderers Row fighters during a bar fight. Then they fought him the next year and knocked him out. He defeated several top contenders of his era, including some of the most avoided names in boxing history. However, like many members of Murderers Row, Chase never got a chance to fight for a world title. His legacy remains that of a dangerous and fearless competitor who could never escape the shadows outside the ropes. Jack Chase. Eddie Booker. It was 8 of them. Remember? Eddie Booker. Mike Rim. What's up, Mike? Murderers Row fighters right now, Mike. We up to like the 5th one of them. But salute Mike Rim. Okay. Eddie Booker is next. Eddie was born November 5th, 1917 in Alto, Texas. He had a career record of 66 wins, just 5 losses, 8 draws, 33 knockouts. None of these guys were real power guys, power punchers. Like most of them were technical. See, they didn't have a lot of knockouts and stuff. And Eddie Booker fought at welterweight, middleweight, and light heavyweight. And most of them fought in the same divisions too. He was known as Black Dynamite. Eddie Booker was a skilled and powerful fighter who mixed speed with precision. He famously knocked out Archie Moore, a future Hall of Famer, who later admitted that Booker was one of the greatest fighters of his era. Booker's career was tragically cut short at just 27 years old after a fight left him with severe eye damage. Many accounts suggest this was caused by tampered gloves, though details remain unclear. The injury left him blind for the rest of his life. He was avoided by many top contenders because of his talent and toughness, making him a standard name in boxing's Black Murderers Row. Today, Booker is remembered as one of the greatest boxers never to get a world title shot. Lloyd Marshall. Mike Mazik in the building. Salute Mike Mazik. Just taking a look at the Murderers Row fighters, Mike. Welcome aboard. Okay, let's continue. Got both of the Mike brothers in here now. Everything is back to normal. All right. Okay, Lloyd Marshall, the knockout artist. After I just get finished saying none of them had power and stuff, here comes the knockout artist. Lloyd Marshall was born June 4th, 1914, Madison County, Georgia. Career record, 70 wins, 25 losses, 4 draws, 36 knockouts. So is he a knockout artist? 70 wins and 36 knockouts. You got to know that knockout ratio. That ain't no knockout artist. 51%. Knockout ratio. But that's what they called him, the knockout artist. Okay. So let's talk about Lloyd. Lloyd Marshall was a devastating puncher who fought and defeated future champions like Jake LaMotta, Joey Maxson, and Freddie Mills. He even knocked out Ezra Charles, who later became heavyweight champion. Marshall turned pro in 1936 and quickly earned a reputation as one of the most dangerous contenders of his time. His peak years came during World War II, when major titles were frozen. Combined with racial discrimination, this denied him the chance to fight for a recognized world championship. Despite the obstacles, Marshall's resume includes victories over 8 fighters who held world titles. But again, they wouldn't put the title on the line. They put it in the contract. Non-title fight. But his power, toughness, and fearless attitude made him one of the most respected members of boxing's murderous row fighters. Marshall retired in 1951 and was later inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame, securing his place among the sport's forgotten greats. He had 2 of them in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, Charlie Burley and Lord Marshall. Holman Williams. Holman was the technician. They say Charlie Burley was the best of them, but arguably Holman Williams could make a good argument for him being the best of the murderous row fighters too. Holman, the technician. Born January 30th, 1915, Pensacola, Florida. And he had a career record of 146 wins, 31 losses, 11 draws, 36 knockouts. Wow. That's 188 fights, right? 177, 188 fights. Wow. Holman Williams was known for his technical brilliance and smooth defensive style. Eddie Futch, one of boxing's greatest trainers, famously said he would rather watch Williams spar than see most fighters compete in the ring. That statement alone shows the level of respect Williams commanded among boxing purists. That's big praise coming from Eddie Futch. Williams fought in nearly 190 pro fights, facing some of the toughest contenders of his era. His ability to adapt and control the pace of a fight made him one of the most feared fighters in boxing during the 1930s and 1940s. He often relied on sharp counterpunching, precise footwork, and ring intelligence to outclass his opponents. Despite his talent, Williams was denied a world title shot throughout his career. Racial barriers and boxing politics played a major role in keeping him away from championship opportunities. Still, he regularly defeated highly ranked fighters and even scored wins over fellow murderous row members, proving he belonged among the elite. Many boxing historians believe Williams may have been the most complete and skilled fighter in the entire murderous row group. His resume includes victories against legendary names like the Coco Kid and Burt Lytell, both of whom were also considered dangerous opponents. Unfortunately, like many members of Murderous Row, Williams' greatness was recognized too late. He passed away in 1967 at the age of 52, but his legacy as one of the best fighters never to win a world title remains secure. And finally, the Coco Kid. Here's the Coco Kid. They call him the Forgotten Genius. He was born May 2nd, 1914 in Mayagüez, Puerto Rico. Career record, 178 wins, 58 losses, 11 draws, 48 knockouts. Wow. Now he had over 200. 178, 58, 247 fights for the Coco Kid. Wow. And he fought in middleweight, welterweight and middleweight. Most of them fought in the same divisions, from welterweight to light heavyweight. Yeah. Wow. 258 fights. That's a lot. Born Herbert Lewis Hardwick, the Coco Kid was the only member of Murderous Row born outside the United States, born in Puerto Rico. His life and career were filled with both triumph and tragedy. After losing both parents at a young age, he grew up under the care of his aunt in Atlanta, Georgia. The Coco Kid began boxing professionally at just 15 years old, quickly developing a reputation for slick defense and sharp counterpunching. His style was highly technical, and his stamina allowed him to go the distance in tough fights. Over an astonishing 250-plus professional fight career, Coco Kid faced some of the best fighters of his era, including Archie Moore, Lou Ambers, and Chalky Wright. Despite his incredible skill, he was consistently denied a world title shot. Even Sugar Ray Robinson avoided him twice, which says everything about how dangerous the Coco Kid was. In fact, he once reportedly dropped Sugar Ray during a sparring session. The Coco Kid's career highlights include winning the World Colored Welterweight Championship, but like his Murderers Row peers, he never got the opportunity he truly deserved. Tragically, after retiring in 1950, he struggled financially and battled pugilistic dementia. He passed away in 1966 at the age of 52. The Coco Kid's story is one of brilliance and heartbreak, a reminder of how boxing politics and racial discrimination robbed fans of seeing a true world champion crowned. Today, historians regard the Coco Kid as one of the most talented and feared fighters in boxing history. The Coco Kid. The fighters of Black Murderers Row left an unforgettable mark on boxing history. Yep, there they are. Murderers Row fighter. Shabazz. Salute. How are you? Cast Sports, the box story, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Like and subscribe, please. Bringing you all that boxing history. Okay, next we're going to take a look at Archie Moore, because I think he should have been the 9th Murderers Row fighter, because he was very avoided too. And Archie started at 23 and didn't get his first title shot until he was 39, even though he was ranked number 1 in middleweight and light heavyweight. Through all of that, right? But, he was just too dangerous to fight. Yeah. Okay, but let's talk about Archie. Because I always say it was 9 Murderers Row fighters that was highly avoided like that back then. Archie was one of them. We're going to take a brief look at Archie Moore now. How great of a boxer was Archie Moore? Glad y'all asked. Let's talk about it. Yeah. Let's see how good of a boxer was Archie. Here's Archie. The mongoose. He fought so long, they had to start calling him the old mongoose. Right? Yup. You had to start calling him the old mongoose. Okay, here we go. The mongoose / old mongoose, Archie Moore. Let's talk about it. Arguably the 9th Murderers Row fighter. But when he finally got that title shot after 16 years, Archie kept it for almost an entire decade. Yep. Archie said, I'm not losing this because I'll probably never get another shot, right? But how good of a boxer was Archie Moore? Archie Moore was a great boxer. One of the most avoided fighters in history. A fighter who had to wait 16 years before finally getting his title shot. At least he got one. The other 8 didn't get one. I guess that's why he wasn't included, because the other 8 never got a title shot. Archie did get a title shot, so yeah, that's part of the reason he wasn't recognized as one of them. Now, Archie Moore is generally considered the 2nd best light heavyweight of all time, and a member of the International Boxing Hall of Fame, which he truly deserves. He's the only fighter in boxing history to be ranked as number 1 contender in 3 of the original 8 weight classes. 3 of them for Archie. Only one. Archie Moore sits proudly in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, where he well deserves to be as one of the true elite in boxing history. Now, Archie Moore, another dirt poor kid trying to make a better life in the squared circle. Archie Moore was born Archibald Lee Wright on December 13th, 1913, or December 13th, 1916. Not only do we not know exactly when Archie was born, we don't know where he was born. Archibald Lee Wright was born the son of Thomas Wright, a farm laborer and habitual drifter, and Lorena Wright. He always said that he was born in 1916 in Collinsville, Illinois, but his mother told numerous reporters that he was actually born in 1913 in Benoit, Mississippi. Yeah, I would go with what the mother said, right? If anybody would know, she would know. But Archie's father abandoned the family when Archie was an infant. Unable to provide for him and his older sister, his mother placed them with an uncle and aunt, Cleveland and Willie Pearl Moore, who lived in St. Louis. Archie later explained why he was given the name Moore. He said there was less questions to be called Moore, because if he went by his original name Wright, everybody gonna be wondering, well, why your uncle named Moore and you named Wright? So Archie said he just changed it to Moore. Less questions. Makes sense. Now, after his uncle's death in an accident, when Archie was 15 or 12, depending on what date we believe as his birth, Archie got in with a gang of thieves and ended up in reform school. He then enlisted in the Civilian Conservation Corps. And when the captain of the Corps camp gave him permission to organize a boxing team, which competed in Golden Gloves, the great Archie Moore was on a long road to the International Boxing Hall of Fame. That's where it began, in the Conservation Corps. Yeah, peekaboo style. Yep. And the cross-arm guard. Yep, but that's where it began at, in the Conservation Corps. I guess that's kind of like the Job Corps nowadays. Now, Archie Moore's record reflects his greatness. He won 186 pro fights, 132 by knockout, second most ever, and he lost 23. And the vast majority of his losses was when he was over 35 years old, okay? And 40, a lot of them when he was over 40, and he had 10 draws. Archie fought 6 of the most avoided fighters in history, from the dreaded Murderers Row group. He fought 6 of them. He fought Lloyd Marshall, Charlie Burley, Aaron Wade, Eddie Booker, the Coco Kid, and Homer Williams. Because Archie could relate, he was avoided too, so he fought most of the Murderers Row fighters. But that's the one distinction Archie had different from them, was he actually got a title shot. None of them did. And those fighters were all in the top 50 of their weight classes of all time, and all were denied title shots due to race and boxing politics. Archie Moore faced 6 of them and managed to beat Marshall and the Coco Kid and Homer Williams. He lost to Burley, Wade, and Booker. So he also had a draw with with Booker twice. He also faced Hall of Famer Jimmy Bivens, and he was outweighed by 10 pounds in that fight, okay? He also fought all-time great light heavyweight Oakland Billy Smith twice, Burt Lytell, Jack Chase, Nino Valdez, all-time light heavyweight great Henry Hall. Archie faced 9 undisputed world champions, Harold Johnson 4 times, Joey Maxim 3 times, Bobo Olson, Willie Pastrano, Teddy Arose, Ezzard Charles 3 times, Rocky Marciano, Floyd Patterson, Muhammad Ali. Those are the big names, 40s, 50s, 60s. Yeah. If you're doing boxing from that era, those are some big, huge names, and Archie fought all of them. Archie Moore is the only boxer in history, again, to be ranked number 1 contender in 3 of the original 8 weight classes. Only man was number 1 in 3 of them. Incredibly, Archie was 36 years old before he got his first title shot, and he turned pro at 23. And the 3 original 8 weight classes were middleweight in 1942, that he was number 1 in middleweight 1942, light heavyweight in 1950, and heavyweight in 1955. Only man to be number 1 in 3 of the original 8 weight classes. And as a middleweight contender, he never got a title shot. Archie fought as a middleweight from 1935 to 1945, compiling a record of 70 wins and 9 losses. He reached the rank of number 1 contender in 1942, but 2 losses to number 7 contender Jack Chase and unranked but talented Aaron Wade dropped Archie all the way to number 10 as a middleweight in 1943. Okay? But he should have had a title shot long before those losses. Trouble making weight led Archie to move up to light heavyweight in 1945 after fighting and defeating the great Lloyd Marshall. And this is his best years at light heavyweight. Archie went 79 wins, 10 losses, 3 draws from 1945 to his clash with Rocky Marciano in 1955, considered by most boxing historians the prime of Archie's career. Now, Archie's 10 losses are deceptive at light heavyweight in that run, because 2 of them were fights in which Archie had won every round but was disqualified for low blows, after which the referee ruled his opponent was unable to continue. Lloyd Gibson in 1948 and Clinton Bacon in 1949. 3 more of Archie's losses were also the direct result of his propensity for low blows. He would have beaten the great Homer Williams in 1946, except he had 2 rounds taken from him for low blows. He lost to Henry Hall in 1948 because 2 rounds were deducted for low blows and headbutting. And in 1952, points taken for a low blow cost Archie the fight against Harold Johnson. So yeah, those 10 losses, like 5, 6, or 7 of them was due to disqualifications and stuff. Of the remaining 6 fights Archie lost in that decade, 3 were to the great Ezzard Charles and 1 to all-time great Jimmy Bivens, in a fight where Archie was outweighed by 18 pounds and where Bivens hit Archie after knocking him down during the referee's count. Although Archie was given 5 minutes to recover from the foul, he simply could not recover enough to win, and Bivens stopped him in the 6th round. Now, Archie avenged that loss, defeating Bivens in the rematch. Yep. Archie came back to avenge him after he Okay, Biles, I appreciate you. Oh, that's Azim, okay. Azim, appreciate you. I thought that in the beginning when I first saw you. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a wrench because yeah, Azim. You got a wrench already, but not under this name. There you go. Okay, I thought that was you, Azim. Yeah. I appreciate you stopping by. Enjoy the rest of your day, though. Okay, Azim has to go back to work, but he did stop by and support. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, Archie avenged the loss to Jimmy Bivens in the rematch. Okay. Only 1 of the 10 losses Archie suffered from 1945 to 1955 was a legitimate loss to someone not named Ezzard Charles. That sole legitimate loss, Archie's first round knockout loss to Leonard Morrow, was avenged in the rematch by 10th round knockout in a fight where he left Leonard unconscious. During this period, Archie also fought and defeated number 2 heavyweight contender Bob Baker and number 1 heavyweight contender Nino Valdez to earn his title shot at Rocky Marciano. He also defeated and knocked out world undisputed middleweight champion Bobo Olsen, who in trying to move up had defeated former light heavyweight champion Joey Maxim. Yeah. Archie Moore is one of the most egregious victims of the color barrier in the 1930s and 1940s. Archie Moore was a very good middleweight contender from 1935 to 1945, but moved up to light heavyweight only because he was denied a title shot, and he was number one contender. From 1945 to 1955, he was an all-time great light heavyweight, thoroughly dominating the division, except for Ezra Charles, and finally getting a title shot and winning the light heavyweight title against another Hall of Famer, Joey Maxim, in 1952. He then campaigned at heavyweight, beating number one contender Nino Valdez and facing Hall of Fame undisputed champions Rocky Marciano and Floyd Patterson when he was 39 and 40 years old, respectively, for the heavyweight title. He lost both of them. At 45, he fought the young Muhammad Ali. Archie Moore had almost too many honors to list. He was named the 1958 Boxing Writers Association of America Fighter of the Year. He was inducted into the World Boxing Hall of Fame in 1980, then the National Boxing Hall of Fame in its inaugural year of 1990, and he was voted Light Heavyweight Fighter of the Century by the Associated Press in 1999. And Ring Magazine also ranked Archie as the second greatest light heavyweight of all time, behind Ezra Charles, because Ezra Charles beat him 3 times, right? And Ring ranked Archie Moore as the 14th best fighter of the last 80 years. And Ring Magazine ranked Archie the 4th greatest puncher of all time in 2003. And he's the second in most knockouts ever with 132. Billy Bird has 139. And Archie Moore spent over 2 decades ranked as a contender. He entered the top 10 in 1940 as a middleweight. Moore was ranked in absolutely incredible. Now listen to this. He was ranked in the top 10 and incredible 21 years overall. Ranked in the top 10, 18 of those 21 years was straight. 18 straight. 16 of those 21 years was number 3 or higher. 11 of those years was undisputed light heavyweight champion. 9 and some months as undisputed light heavyweight champion. But 21 years ranked in the top 10 overall. 18 straight years in the top 10. 16 years as number 3 or higher. And almost an entire decade as the undisputed light heavyweight champion. The old mongoose, Archie Moore. And a lot of boxing publications got him ranked very highly too. Archie Moore would fight on as a light heavyweight champion until 1960. Moore, at 40 years old, fought Floyd Patterson for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship on November 30th, 1956, and was knocked out in the 6th round. Archie continued on as light heavyweight champion until 1960, when he was stripped of the title for failing to defend it. Ring Magazine still recognized Archie as their champion until 1962, when they stripped him for failing to defend the title. Archie Moore, who gave motivational speeches for a living later after he retired from the ring, used to carry around a 16mm film of his title defenses with Yvonne Durrell. A fight which Hall of Fame referee Mills Lane says, "I don't think you'll ever see a fight like Durrell Moore again. That fight transcended what great fights are." Archie would show the tape during his speeches, which shows him down 3 times in the first round, but coming back to win, to his audience, whom he would then tell, no matter how out of it you are, you can always get up, come back, and be a winner. And if there ever was a winner, it was the great Archie Moore, the old mongoose. Archie Moore. Okay, so now we're going to look at the 5 legends that was on the thumbnail there. These 5 right here. Left to right, Jack Johnson, the Galveston Giant Jack Johnson, the Brown Bomber Joe Louis, Sugar Ray Robinson, Smoking Joe Frazier, and the greatest, Muhammad Ali. Okay, let's take a look at these guys now. celebrating 5 of boxing's legendary black boxers. We're going to talk about the world colored heavyweight title tomorrow. And we're going to have some black boxing pioneers Friday in celebration of Black History Month. Okay, so let's look at these guys now. Just a brief look at these 5 legends. We all know all about them. Just a brief look, that's all. Celebrating 5 of boxing's black legends. Okay. Okay. Celebrating, oh, don't do this to me. Celebrating 5 of boxing's legendary black boxers. Boxing is okay. Boxing is a sport of champions and legends. As we celebrate Black History Month, I'm having problems. As we celebrate Black History Month, we look back on 5 Black American fighters. Excuse me for a minute. What's going on? Okay, I think I got it now. Okay. Boxing is a sport of champions and legends. As we celebrate Black History Month, we look back on 5 Black American boxers who made an impact in the sport. The history of Black Americans in the sport of boxing is full of era-defining fighters. As we celebrate Black History Month, we are looking back at 5 of boxing's legendary black boxers and their accomplishments, their contributions to the sport, and the fights they faced, both inside and outside of the squared circle. Okay, Jack Johnson is first. The Galveston Giant. Is first. Okay, Jack John Arthur Johnson. Jack Johnson became the first ever Black heavyweight champion on December 26, 1908, defeating the Great White Hope, James J. Jeffries, in the fight of the century. He beat Tommy Burns for the title, but then he defeated the Great White Hope, James J. Jeffries. This was in 1910, in the fight of the century. Known for his tremendous power and fighting tenacity in the ring, he was an important figure in boxing and in American culture. He ran a successful desegregated nightclub, but fell into controversy for marrying a Caucasian woman and for his generally unapologetic attitude. Despite the injustices he faced, he was still a proud and upstanding man, and his legacy inspires many of today's fighters, as well as the other boxers on this list, to greatness. Galveston Giant, Jack Johnson. Next is the Brown Bomber, Joe Louis. The Brown Bomber, Joe Louis. Often credited with inventing the modern straight punch, Joe Louis was extremely ahead of his time inside the ring. If you watch his footwork, you can see his movements were calculated, calm, and as small as possible, much like many of today's modern boxers. Defeating German boxer Max Schmeling is arguably one of his most historic fights, as it elevated him to the status of national hero during World War II. However, Louis did face incredible racial discrimination. The government credited charitable fights used to raise money for the war effort to Louis's own income, therefore having him in debt and forcing the then retired Louis back into the ring in 1951. Through all of this, Louis remained, by all accounts, a good and generous man, and was able to live comfortably towards the end of his life, thanks to help from friends such as former opponent Max Melly, Joe Louis. Yeah, that was ridiculous too, because the money he donated it, that the government put taxes on and forced it back into the ring. He didn't. It was 2 fights, and he didn't earn a penny of that money. He donated it to charity, and guess who he donated it to? The United States government. Okay, he donated it to the war and veterans groups, both of which is part of the United States government, and they still tax them. Nasty work, man. Nasty, nasty work right there. Okay, next is Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Robinson. Mr. Pound for Pound himself. Widely regarded as the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, Sugar Ray Robinson was the very definition of a modern boxer puncher. He was fast, slick, powerful, and fearless in the ring. With an incredible ending record of 174 wins, 19 defeats, 109 by knockout, okay? Almost all of which came, his losses, almost all of which came far past his prime. He certainly has one of the most impressive professional records of all time. His history as a man is also impressive. When he heard that black soldiers would not be allowed to attend his fights, he courageously refused to box in exhibitions to entertain the military. Sugar Ray Robinson. Next is Smoking Joe Frazier. Smoking Joe Frazier, like Albert Cassell would say. Smoking Joe Frazier. Here he is. After moving to Philadelphia from the South in 1961, Smoking Joe Frazier quickly became one of the heavyweight greats with his fearless come-forward style and his likable and humble personality. The highlight of his career came with his defeat of a young Muhammad Ali, and he continued to fight as the best, earning the love and respect of many for his courageous conduct in the ring. Even with his losses to George Foreman and his rematch losses to Muhammad Ali, he still remains one of the legends in the sport. Those are the only 2 men that ever beat him. George Foreman and Muhammad Ali, each beat him twice. And he fought smack dab in the middle of the golden age of the heavyweights, late 60s through the 70s. Only 2 men to beat him, Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, arguably the 2 other greatest heavyweights of that era. And finally is Muhammad Ali, the greatest. Muhammad Ali started out his career as the Louisville Slugger. Remember, that was his nickname in the beginning, the Louisville Slugger, Cassius Clay. Bruce Gas probably remember that. Okay, Muhammad Ali is often credited as the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time, as well as being widely recognized as one of the most influential sports figures of the 20th century. From his flamboyant trash talk to his flashy footwork and the Ali Shuffle, he clearly has had an impact on the sport. Many of today's boxers mimic the moves and boxing techniques he pioneered during his reign as heavyweight champion. With wins over Joe Frazier, George Foreman, and Floyd Patterson, he certainly achieved success in an incredibly talented heavyweight era. That, coupled with his political activism and innate charisma, served to make him well-deserving of his nickname, the greatest. Muhammad Ali. The history of Black Americans in boxing is rich and full of stories of brave men and women overcoming adversity. It's also full of amazing athletes that truly define entire generations of the sport. While we only recognize a few of these fighters here, there are many others whose legacies and achievements continue to shape and inspire the newest generation of fighters to always answer the bell, no matter what challenge is waiting in the other corner. All right. Okay. We got this other heavyweight guy we're going to talk about now. I forgot his name. Bob Armstrong. Yeah, we're going to talk about Bob Armstrong. Black boxing pioneer back in the day. Tomorrow, the title called the World Colored Heavyweight Championship. Black fighters weren't allowed to fight for the regular heavyweight championship, so they formed that one. And it wasn't just at heavyweight. They had the colored title at other divisions too. Welterweight, middleweight. Most of the Murderers Row fighters held welterweight and middleweight colored title. So that's going to be our show tomorrow. We're going to talk about the history of it, some of the fighters that held it, some of the fights they had for it, all of that, the boxing politics surrounding it, all of that tomorrow. But right now, Bob Armstrong. And we also, if we get to it, who was the first black boxer to become a world boxing champion? And when did it occur? Time permitting. But Bob Armstrong first. Bob Armstrong and the World Colored Heavyweight Championship. Born in Rogersville, Tennessee, Bob Armstrong fought his way from a carnival sideshow to the top of Jim Crow era boxing. In a time when white world champions refused to fight black boxers, a title was established to battle segregation and bring prestige to fighters that may have otherwise faded into obscurity. The title was the World Colored Heavyweight Championship, and one of the men honored with holding that championship was Bob Armstrong. Armstrong was born on September 4th, 1873, in Rogersville, Tennessee, about 70 miles east of Knoxville. The son of an ex-slave at the age of 3, his family moved to Iowa, where he stayed through adolescence. He got a job as a stable boy, helping out at a racetrack. That's where he developed a lot of his physique. One of the events held during these fairs was the Battle Royal, a free-for-all fight pitting multiple black men against each other, sometimes blindfolded in a ring for the amusement of white fairgoers. This barbaric attraction is where Bob Armstrong discovered his penchant for pugilism. They eventually called him the King of the Battle Royal. Armstrong decided to hone his skills and ventured into a Chicago gymnasium run by Billy O'Connell. O'Connell's gym hosted many other prominent fighters in the area, and it was there that Armstrong was discovered by the Secretary of Boxing promoter, Parson Davies. That was the break. It was a strange break, but yet alone, talk about being in the right place at the right time. The secretary goes back. Parson, you got to see this guy, Bob Armstrong, because he is sensational. And one of the fighters under the Davies umbrella, promoter Parson Davies, was Joe Choinsky. And it was Parsons who convinced Choinsky to go into the ring and evaluate this kid Armstrong and see if we've got something. Armstrong showed promise, and Choinsky signed off on the former Battle Royal fighter. Now Parson Davies had a new heavyweight in his stable. Davies was always looking for his pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So reasonable thinking, it was Armstrong, maybe the next pot of gold for him. Parsons' pot of gold at the time was Peter Jackson, another historic black fighter for that time. Jackson was a former Australian heavyweight champion, On October 24th, 1888, he defeated George Godfrey to become the world colored heavyweight champion. Here's a picture of Peter Jackson right here. Yeah, that's Peter Jackson. And like I said, the World Colored Heavyweight Championship was a tool to combat racial oppression, as white world champions at the time refused to fight black boxers. Now, it never really had a formal structure. It wasn't like the WBO or IBF and all that. It wasn't that way at all. It was basically a word of mouth type of title. Now, Peter Jackson's lengthy reign legitimized the World Colored Heavyweight Championship. He was a perfect spokesman for it. And that's really what made it take off. Peter Jackson had. Records show that Peter Jackson held the World Colored Heavyweight Championship until 1896, when he vacated the title to pursue an acting career. So with the Davis machine behind him, Bob Armstrong was heralded as the second Peter Jackson. And with the Colored World Heavyweight Championship vacant, Armstrong staked his claim at the title. On December 21st, 1896, the fight between Bob Armstrong and Charlie Strong would be contested for the vacant Colored World Heavyweight Championship. Armstrong came into the fight with a 7-inch height advantage and a 25-pound weight advantage over Strong. Despite Armstrong's physical superiority, Strong managed to last 19 rounds against Armstrong before a right hand to the jaw knocked the Newark native out. Wow, from Newark. Just do. Those observing thought Armstrong's performance was a vast disappointment, but nevertheless, Bob Armstrong was the new Colored World Heavyweight Champion. Over the next year, Armstrong fought a total of 5 times. 2 of those fights were title defenses against Joe Butler and Sam Pruitt, with knockouts in the 8th and 1st rounds, respectively. Frank Childs was another Chicago boxer who had spent time as Armstrong's sparring partner and even defeated Armstrong in a non-title fight in 1897, marking Armstrong's first professional defeat. On January 29th, 1898, Bob Armstrong met Frank Childs once again, this time with the championship at stake. 90 seconds into the second round, the smaller Childs landed a right square on Armstrong's jaw. Armstrong rose at the count of 9, but Childs came right back and knocked Armstrong flat on his face. The referee awarded the fight to Childs as a discombobulated Armstrong wobbled to Childs' corner. The new champion took Armstrong into his arms and gently laid him down on the canvas. He went to the wrong corner. After his second loss to Childs, Armstrong continued fighting and met future world champion James J. Jeffries in 1898, losing a 10-round decision. He went on to fight for the World Colored Heavyweight Championship on 3 more occasions, losing once again to Frank Childs and Denver Ed Martin twice. Bob Armstrong's final fight was on December 26, 1904, in a losing effort to Walter Johnson. He finished his career with a record of 18 wins, 11 losses, 7 draws, and 1 no contest. Throughout his career as a trainer, Armstrong worked with notable names such as former rival James J. Jeffries and the young Sam Langford. He became a trainer. James J. Jeffries, Sam Langford, 2 big names back to the young Sam Langford. The heavyweight color line was finally crossed in 1908 when Jack Johnson defeated Canadian Tommy Burns in Australia to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Johnson's reign would last over 6 years. Armstrong worked as a trainer for Johnson in his third championship defense against Stanley Ketchum. Johnson won by a 12th round knockout, and the White World Heavyweight Championship became defunct after Jess Willis' victory over Jack Johnson in 1950. It had a colored heavyweight championship, a white heavyweight championship, and a regular heavyweight championship. And then the World Colored Heavyweight Championship continued until 1937, when Joe Louis claimed the World Heavyweight crown from James J. Braddock. Yep, went all the way to 1937. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Bob Armstrong didn't live long enough to see the color line completely crossed from boxing. On July 6, 1933, Bob Armstrong died after a year-long fight with tuberculosis in the charity ward of the Oak Forest Infirmary in Chicago. Armstrong was buried in the Cook County Cemetery, Pottersfield, in Chicago, Illinois, in an unmarked grave. There you go, Bob Armstrong. Okay, let's take a look at a more deeper look at the first black boxing champion. A deeper look at that. Who was the first black boxer to become a world boxing champion? We mentioned it earlier. George Dixon. We're going to take a deeper look at it now. And they called him Little Chocolate. He was Canadian. There he is. Okay, let's take a look at that. We got a few minutes. Hope everybody enjoyed today's show. Tomorrow, the World Colored Heavyweight Championship. We're going to go in deep on it. History of it, all that. Mm-hmm. A little crowd in here for a minute today. Okay, let's see. All right, what are we doing? Who was the first black boxing champion? First boxer to become a world champion. This is in any weight class. Jack Johnson was at heavyweight. Okay, here we go. Okay. Who's the first black boxer to become a world champion? Though he did not have a title from a sanctioning body, Canadian George Dixon was recognized as world champion, the first black boxing champion, first black athlete to win a championship in any sport, really. In the modern sanctioning era, Battling Siki was the first black undisputed world boxing champion. Now, boxing was segregated long before baseball, basketball, hockey, or football. And George Dixon of Canada was the first black fighter to capture a world title, defeating Nuke Wallace for the vacant bantamweight title on June 27, 1890, in London, England. Who was George Dixon, the first black boxing champion? Dixon was born in Africville, the black community in Halifax, Nova Scotia, in Canada, on June 29, 1870. He moved as a child to Boston, Massachusetts with his family and began boxing there at about 14 years old. Dixon became the first black man to be proclaimed the world boxing champion when he won the world bantamweight title on May 10th, 1888, after a fight with Tommy Spider Kelly, and was universally considered the champion after knocking out Nuke Wallace of England in 18 rounds 2 years later on June 27th, 1890. On May 31st, 1891, Dixon defended his title, retaining his bantamweight crown by beating Cal McCarthy in 22 rounds. And then he moved up to featherweight, where he won the world title by beating England's Fred Johnson on June 27th, 1892. Okay? Dixon was known as Little Chocolate at 5'3.5" and he weighed only 87 pounds when he began his pro boxing career. 87 pounds. Dixon is considered one of the first modern technical boxers and is widely credited for developing shadow boxing and being the first fighter to make extensive use of the heavy bag. Yeah, he invented a lot of the technical things that they use nowadays. You know, they're more advanced now and everything, but he was the basis for shadow boxing, the heavy bag, all those are Little Chocolates. At featherweight, Dixon was the first 2-time and then the first 3-time world champion. Dixon may have fought as many as 800 fights with literally hundreds of unrecorded exhibitions in vaudeville fights, vaudeville halls. Dixon retired from boxing at age 34, but only lived 3 years after retiring. Dixon was a victim of the virulent racism in the post-Civil War United States and had a sad life after boxing. He died in New York City in abject poverty, a hopeless alcoholic at only 37 years old. He was an inaugural inductee in the Canada Sports Hall of Fame and was also named to the Ring Magazine Hall of Fame, the World Boxing Hall of Fame, and in the inaugural class of 1990, the big one, the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Okay, so now the first black undisputed champion. Okay, Battling Siki was the first black undisputed world champion in the modern sanctioning era. Battling Siki was born Louis Mbarek Fall on September 16th, 1897 in the port city of St. Louis, French Senegal. Another child born in the hopeless poverty. It is recorded that as a teenager, he died from the top of a cliff to fetch coins thrown by French tourists into the sea. A female Dutch dancer noticed the handsome teen and offered to take him to Europe. At first, Louis Fall worked washing dishes. Then at 14 years old, he began his career in boxing. His early career was nothing special, and there was no indication he would one day dethrone the great Georges Carpentier and become only the second undisputed light heavyweight world champion in history, and the first black undisputed champion in the 106 years of the modern sanctioning era. Louis's boxing career was interrupted by World War I, and he enlisted in the French army, joining the 8th Colonials. He fought at Gallipoli and was injured at the Somme, earning the same medals as Carpentier. After displaying incredible bravery in battle. After his honorable discharge, Siki resumed his boxing career, fighting in France and in Holland, where he met his first wife, with whom he had a son, Louis. An impressive run of victories led to his tilt at the world title. On September 24th, 1922, Louis Mbarek Fall, by then known as Battling Siki, knocked out the woefully unprepared Carpentier for the world light heavyweight title. Considering Siki nothing more than a glorified punching bag, the orchard man had not trained, and he paid the price for it. The story goes that Siki was brought in to make Carpenter look good and only began to fight back when Carpenter began viciously beating him down. He went down twice in the third round. He rose genuinely angry, and the fight began. Siki came back scoring a 4-punch combination to the body and head for a knockdown late in the third round. In between the third and fourth rounds, Carpenter told his corner he had broken his right knuckles. In the fourth round, Siki took over completely, battering Carpenter with body shots, while Carpenter was reduced to headbutting and fouling. The fouling was so blatant, the French crowd began angrily booing Carpenter, a national hero. Yeah, he was French, a French fighter and a war hero, but he was fouling Siki so bad, the French crowd actually started booing him. So that had to be bad. In the sixth round, a body shot for Siki put Carpenter down for the count. What happened became even more incredible when, in front of 55,000 people, the referee disqualified Siki for supposedly tripping Carpenter and declared Carpenter lying flat on his back to be the winner. Yeah, he said Siki tripped him. The crowd was outraged and began to swarm the ring. The president of the French Boxing Federation, sensing a riot, sent the fight to the judges, who then overruled the referee and declared Siki the new world champion. Yeah, the president of the French Boxing Federation, the crowd charged the ring, and he said, hold up. I'm overturning that referee's decision and send it to the judges, and the judges knew they had to give it to Siki because the people was waiting to riot. They had already started. And Siki was the toast to Paris after his incredible upset win over Georges Carpenter. Georges Carpenter, arguably the best French fighter ever, but Siki went over there and knocked him out. The president of the French Boxing Federation, he saved the riot though, because Siki had really beat the man, and the referee, he knocked the man out. The man lying flat on his back, and the referee disqualified Siki and said he tripped him, right? And the crowd was mad, even though they was in French Carpenter's home. They charged the ring. So the president of the French Boxing Federation sensed the riot. He stopped them and said, hold up, I'm gonna send it to the judges. And the judges gave it to Siki. Mm-hmm. But that was crazy. Had to be crazy. Man lying flat on in the ring, and the referee gonna give him the fight. Yeah, but we're gonna stop it right there. Okay. Yep. But hope everybody enjoyed today's show, Black Boxing History. Tomorrow we're gonna continue. This is our little tribute to Black History Month with Black Boxing History. We're going to look at the World Colored Heavyweight Championship tomorrow. It was a title they created back in the early 1900s because the black fighters weren't allowed to fight for the regular heavyweight title. So they created their own. Not just heavyweight, they had the colored title in the other divisions, some other divisions too. Yeah, but the most well-known was the colored heavyweight title because back then heavyweight champion of the world was like one of the most well-known people in the country. You know, being heavy. Jack Dempsey was one of the most popular people in the United States. He was heavyweight champion. So, yeah, the world colored heavyweight champion was the most well-known of the colored titles. We're going to look at that tomorrow. And then Friday, we're going to finish up the week. We're going to look at some black boxing pioneers, a group of them, like Thomas Molyneux, Peter Jackson, the other guy, Bill, I forgot his name. I'll know it by Friday. It's written down somewhere. He trained Thomas Molyneux. Mm-hmm. And they traveled the world fighting and stuff. Yep. I take a look at Sam Langford and Joe Gans, a brief look. We looked at them a lot. Barbados, Joe Walcott. Mm-hmm. Joe Jeanette. All of those guys. The Black Boxing Pioneers Friday. Okay? And I appreciate everybody for stopping through today. Don't forget we got Irony Boxing tonight, like 9-ish. BVO, 8 p.m. Just Do Boxing is next at 4 p.m. Yep. Full lineup. She's still to come. And I mean fire shows. Again, Just Do at 4. BVO at 8. We got Irony Boxing from the Cash Sports family at like 9-ish tonight. So yeah. I was in there last night. I got on Irony's panel. Thomas Hill couldn't believe it because I don't do panels other than my own. They couldn't believe I was actually on the panel. Yeah, but it was a good show. Check him out. Yeah, we was talking about all kind of different stuff, the fights this weekend and all that kind of different little boxing history thrown in. Yeah. Well, I appreciate everybody. Azim Shabazz, Mike Mazik, Mike Rim, Technique, Donnie Williams, Cameron Terrell, Crush the Legend, Bruce Gas Boxing Jazz and more, BBO Sports TV, and Miss Cass. Appreciate everybody for supporting today and every day. Don't forget tomorrow, the Colored Heavyweight Championship. Okay? And don't forget, Arnie Boxing, BBO, Just Do next, all coming up in these YouTube streets. But everybody have a great afternoon, and I'll be back tomorrow. Because if it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all that boxing history. Everybody have a great afternoon.